Recruiting, it's the lifeblood of any college football team. There's an old saying that says it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes. That's 100% correct. In today's show, I'm going to recall some of the really funny recruiting stories from my time at Wayne State College in Nebraska. This is QB Unfiltered Flashback, my top 5 funniest home visits.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Okay, at Wayne State College, which was NCAA Division II out in Wayne, Nebraska, we made an absolute living and killing recruiting the California JUCOs. But we also had to recruit the high school kids out of the state of Nebraska. And anytime you're recruiting high school players, the really good ones, you have to set up home visits to meet with them and the parents. And home visits are really important for 2 reasons. Number one, not only are you recruiting the player, but you have to recruit and sell the parents. All right. Especially mom. You've got to get the parents on board with their son in order to make it happen. The second reason why home visits are so important is I always took the opportunity to watch the interaction between the young man that we were recruiting and his parents. How did he interact with them? But home visits also provide absolutely some of the funniest situations, funniest scenarios to happen in recruiting. Today, I'm going to be joined by Mark Gritton, who I worked with for 6 years at Wayne State College. Grit was the defensive coordinator. Our paths go back almost, 40 years. He was at Humboldt State University in Northern California, which had a Division II program back then. And he was a graduate assistant in 1985 and 86. As he was leaving Humboldt State, I was coming into Humboldt State to start my grad assistant work. Gritton took a job at College of the Sequoias, which is a junior college in the Central Valley of California. I did my 2 years at Humboldt State and then was hired as the offensive coordinator out at Wayne State College in Nebraska. Well, I got the job there in 1989. At the end of the 1989 season, we needed a defensive coordinator, and I was able to really be instrumental in getting Grit out to Wayne State to be the defensive coordinator for us. And as I said, we worked together for 6 years and really had some great football teams in that time. In 1995, at the end of that season, we both left at the same time and got head coaching jobs back out in California at the junior college. He went to become the head coach at West Hills College, which is in the Central Valley. And I went to become the head coach at Santa Rosa Junior College, which is in the North Bay in Northern California. I've been retired now for 6 years. Grit just retired this last year, and very fortunate to have him on today to reminisce and have a few laughs about my top 5 funniest home visits we had at Wayne State College. And before I bring Grit on, I need to make sure that something's really crystal clear here. We did hundreds of these home visits in our 6 years at Wayne State College. This is just isolated events, right? At the end of the day, Mark Gritton and myself were really good recruiters. We brought some unbelievable talent out to Wayne, Nebraska. Anytime that you can get a kid to leave California and come out to Wayne, Nebraska, excluding the college population in Wayne, it was a town of 5,000 people. We didn't visit any of these California recruits. We never brought a California kid out for a visit. It was all recruiting face to face, out there when we went to California to recruit, or it was over the phone. But if you can get the talent that we got from the California JUCOs to come out and play at Wayne, Nebraska, you can recruit. So keep that in mind when we're talking about this. These were isolated events, but funny as hell nonetheless. All right. Grit and I are going to flash back to my top 5 funniest home visits at Wayne State College in Nebraska. My memory is pretty good as far as my viewpoint on all of this stuff, but there's maybe some fuzzy parts of these home visits that Grit can hopefully fill in. But before we start, we need to do some background and some context. This is 30 to 35 years ago, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, of these 5 visits, 4 of them were at least me, Grit, and our head coach, Dennis Wagner. One of these top 5 was just me and Grit. And the ones that were just me, Grit, and Wags were also, I think, sprinkled in at times with some of our younger assistant coaches, which I'm a little fuzzy on, and hopefully Grit can help me out. Okay, now, we would take a college van, we'd pile all of our asses in there, and we would drive to these home visits, and we'd do multiple visits per night, okay? And one other thing I want to say before I start talking about our boss is I can't straight face anything. I have never been able to straight face anything. It's always busted my ass all the way back to grade school and guys doing stupid shit in the classroom and everybody would straight face it and I couldn't. So just keep that in mind when we're talking about these visits. Okay, now our boss, head coach Dennis Wagner, also known as Big Daddy Wags or Wags. These stories are funnier than hell because he was a major contributing factor. And the reason why is this. Number one, he loved recruiting. He told me one time his favorite aspect of coaching was recruiting. Wags lived to recruit, and he was a recruiting machine. He was also totally serious about it. Totally serious, always a true professional, right? He's a Midwest guy, grew up in Iowa, played offensive line. He's a starting guard for the University of Utah. He's about 6'3", and depending on what day of the week it is, he's between 295 and maybe 315. Is that about accurate?
317.
And he's one of the best offensive line coaches in the country at any level. NFL, college, this dude could coach. While we're telling these stories, and while me and Grit were usually laughing or trying not to laugh, we were shoulder shaking, red faced. Wags is totally serious. He knew what was going on the entire time.
He cared.
He was such a pro at this, and it made it even funnier. Anything to add to that, Grit?
I just remember rehearsing. You know, we're about a block away and we have to stop before we get to the particular recruit's house. And then we'd give him a name of the guy. And then we'd get up to the door and Wags would go, "What's his name again?" And then we would give him a different name. And he'd panic until someone finally gets to the door and boom, he flashes on the correct name.
Yeah, I remember that. Hey, let's say the guy's name was Joe. We'd be up at the door. "Hey, Wags, whatever you do, don't call him Scott." What? You fuckers.
Just don't. Yeah. And then the door would open and then it's on. Then we're on. Yeah. You know, we got to recruit this kid.
Okay, so I have not talked to Grit about my list. So this is the first time he's hearing these. Yeah. All right. I'm going to start with number 5 and work up to number 1. And I got a pretty good idea that he knows what number 1 is right now, or at least he should.
The Reverend?
No.
Oh. No. Did the Reverend make the travel team?
No.
God, that was a fun visit, man. I can't wait to hear him now. Jeez.
Okay, we're not going to give the real names of the recruits or the parents, but the coaches we talk about, these are real guys.
I want my face pixeled out too during this thing. Okay.
Number 5. Here we go. Number 5. And I'm going to give you the title of the visit according to me. Number 5 is The Chunk of Pie on the cheek. This was a kicker. And I'm not sure what part of Omaha. This is down in the Omaha area. He was a kicker. This was the first home visit that our receiver coach, Kevin Haslam, took with us. So he's a pup. And the seating arrangements were this great. I don't know if do you remember this one? The chunk of pie on the face?
I'm getting so close to it, but bring it closer to me.
So I know that the seating arrangements, as far as me and Haslam, the kid and the mom, was this. They had a couch. The mom was sitting in the middle of the couch. The kid was sitting to her left. And then I was sitting in a chair to the left of the kid. And then Haslam was sitting in a chair to my left. So that means the dad, Grit, and Wags are somewhere else in the living room. So we're talking and, visiting, recruiting, selling Wayne State. The mom gets up and goes in the kitchen and gets slices of pie for everybody. And it had graham cracker crust for the pie. So she brings them in. She gives them to everybody. We're all, eating pie and talking and all that. And the kid is shoveling. He's shoveling it, right? And his mother says something to him. So he looks at his mom, which means I'm looking at the back of his head. And his mom is talking to him as he's shoveling. And then either I asked him something or Haslam asked him something. And he turned to look at me. He had a chunk of pie with the graham cracker crust, about a quarter in diameter, stuck to his cheek. And when I saw that,
Haslam could see it.
Yeah, when I saw that, the funniest thing was his mother had just sat there looking at him with this. He had to have had it on his face while he was talking to her, and she said nothing to him. So when he turned and looked at me, I went like this and try not to look at Grit, because as soon as I look at Grit, it's over. And I'm looking at Haslam, and Haslam is like looking at me, and he's thinking to himself,
save it.
He's going, shit. I'm on my first home visit, and here's the offensive coordinator who's about ready to lose his shit, and this kid's got a chunk of pie on his face. So I'm sitting there thinking about all that stuff, and of course, Wags can see me, shoulder shaking it and doing all this, and he's doing his professional recruiting, which makes it even funnier. I'm thinking about the fact that the mom saw the kid with the pie on his face and didn't say anything. And then I'm thinking about the fact that Haslam over here is going, holy cow, what am I doing here? So I couldn't take it any longer. I got up, excused myself, and went into the bathroom. Now, the bathroom wall was butted right up against the living room wall, and Haslam was sitting right there. I go in the bathroom, close the door. I put both my hands on the sink with my head down, and I look up at the mirror at my face and go, oh! Just let out this big explosion. After the home visit was over, Haslam goes, hey, when you went in the bathroom, that laugh was loud. I don't remember if we got the kid or not. That was number 5, the chunk of pie on the cheek. Number 4, the dog licking his balls. This is in Omaha. I don't remember. I don't remember the guy. I don't remember the recruit, what position he played. Okay. This is in kind of an upscale neighborhood. It was a big house, and we were in the living room. Now, the living room floor, it was either totally carpeted or it was hardwood with a big throw rug in the middle of the floor, but it was big. The parents are sitting on a couch. I'm sitting across the big, expansive floor from the parents. I don't know where Grit and Wags are, right? And we're talking and recruiting, and all of a sudden, this dog walks into the living room. This is a big freaking dog, big dog, and plops right down in the middle of the floor. So we're talking, and all of a sudden, maybe about 5 minutes after the dog lays down, he lifts his leg and starts licking his balls. I look at the dog and I look at Grit and I start doing this. And of course, Wags can see me doing that. And again, he's Mr. Pro. And I look at the parents and I look at the kid and they're oblivious to what's going on. Here's this big dog with his leg about this high in the air and he's licking his balls. And he's not stopping, right? And so it gets worse than that. Okay, it gets worse because the longer he's licking and the longer the parents and the kid aren't acknowledging it or saying, hey, Spot, stop. The longer that Wags has got to carry the conversation while I'm trying not to lose my shit. But it gets worse. So about 15 minutes into the ball licking session, this big freaking dog starts slurping. And it's like, all right, I'm looking at the dog, he's slurping. I'm looking at the parents and the kid, they're oblivious. I'm looking at Wax, I'm looking at Grit. The entire time we were there doing our recruiting visit, that dog licked his balls, and the parents and the kid never said one thing. I don't remember if we got him either. You don't remember that one, Grit?
Yes, I do. Oh, wow.
Slurping.
Wow.
Those are some big balls too, man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
I do remember all of a sudden you not only saw it, but then you try to not see it. Then you could hear it. You're like, oh God, you can't unhear that.
And that's right. And wouldn't you think that either mom or dad or the kid would tell him to stop?
Yeah.
Okay, that's number 4.
Okay.
Big dog licking his balls. Now we go to number 3. I know you remember this one. Peeling a potato with one hand. The grandma. Oh, jeez, Grit. Okay. Maybe you weren't with me on any of those visits. Okay, so this is in North Omaha. We roll up to this house, and this is there is no street lights on. This is what I remember. There's no street lights out, and it's dark out. And we walk up to the door. This one's just me and Grit. We knock on the door, and this older woman, the grandma, opens the door. She's got a baby in one arm, and with the other hand, she's peeling a potato with a paring knife. And I'm going, wow, that's impressive. Mm-hmm. That's impressive. So she shows us in the house, and we go sit like in this den. It's kind of poorly lit. I mean, it wasn't real bright in there, this den. And I'm sitting on a couch, and there's a big round ottoman sitting right in front of me. Big round with a blanket clumped on top of it. And so the mom and the kid come in, and we're talking, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see this blanket move. I'm like, what the hell? And I looked at the kid and I looked at the mom, and it's like the dog licking his balls. They didn't even acknowledge it. I'm looking at Grit like, hey man, there's someone's under here. You couldn't see anything. You could just see movement. So I'm like, all right, that's interesting. So we continue to talk, and all of a sudden it moves again. And I looked at the mom and the kid. Nothing. And so I'm giggling and shoulder shaking. I'm sure, Grit, you had to carry the conversation.
Save it.
Jeez. The grandma stayed in the kitchen holding the baby and cooking dinner and peeling potatoes and doing all that stuff with one hand. Interesting. I don't remember if we got that kid either, but we never did find out what was under that blanket.
No, but there was a little kid or something taking a nap.
Yeah.
It had to be.
Yeah. Okay, that's number 3. Peeling a potato with one hand. All right, we get to the last 2. Number 2 is the wrought iron candlesticks on the wall. Grit, I don't know if you remember this one either. This one was in a small town. So from Wayne to Omaha, there was a whole string of little tiny towns. And, there was good players in those towns. You just had to find them. And obviously we were at some dude's house that could play. I don't remember what position he played, but, and I know for sure that this was me, Wags, Grit, and Rick Mormon, who we called Momo. He was there too for this one. May have been Scott Frere, defensive line coach. I don't remember, but we go into this house and we go into like a parlor. Okay. The old fashioned parlors that they had in these Midwestern houses. And this was like a square room, and they had chairs along the wall that were butted right up against the wall, just individual chairs. And also along the wall, they had these big, heavy, weapon-like wrought iron candle holders on the wall with candles in them. Well, one of those chairs, the candle holder was like the back of your head height, right? Which isn't very good planning. So we're all sitting down, and the mom is doing something in the kitchen, and she walks in, and for some reason, I'm watching her the whole way. She sits down in the chair and puts her back against the back of the chair and cranks the back of her head on the base of that wrought iron candle holder. And I'm looking, and I'm trying not to look at Grit, and oh man, I'm shoulder shaking and just going, holy shit, please. So we get into the recruiting visit. Mom gets up to go do something, and I'm thinking to myself, there's no way. Don't do it. Don't do it. She walks back into the room. She sits down in the chair again, backs up against it, boom, cranks her head on the back. Oh man. So, of course, again, while I'm shoulder shaking it, laughing, got my chin buried in my chest, red in the face.
Don't look at Grit.
Don't look at Grit. Knowing that Wags is knowing everything that's going on in the room, and he's just not breaking character at all. That made it even funnier. So that was number 2, the wrought iron candlestick, which leads us to number 1. Here's the title of it.
Okay.
Mom watching TV in the kitchen. Okay, this is number 1 with a bullet. It was in Omaha. And you had, for whatever reason, you had already you'd already home visited this family. And so as we're driving to the house, you go, okay, here's what's going to happen. This is number 1 with a bullet. Okay, this is what's going to happen. Dad's going to answer the door. He's about 5'3". When we walk into the house, the kitchen is right to the right. And when you look into the kitchen, Mom is going to be like this in front of the kitchen table with a little portable TV about a foot in front of her face. And she's just going to go, and continue watching TV. And then the dad is going to laugh like this. We're like, okay, cool. So We get there, we walk up, we knock on the door. The door opens. There's the dad. He's 5'3", and it's on. It's on. Come on in, guys. We walk into the house. The entrance to the kitchen is right there. I'm going, don't look, don't look, don't look. Don't look. I look, there's mom doing exactly, glued a foot from the TV. Hey, how's it going? Hey. And now I'm thinking to myself, okay, Grit, you asshole, do not make him laugh. So of course, Gritton says something that he knows the guy's going to laugh, and he laughs exactly like it. And it was over. It was over.
God. Oh.
So the other ones, when I say shoulder shake and red in the face, yes, this one, I can't believe that Wags didn't fire me that night. It was horrible. And the amazing part of this is the kid signed with us. Mm-hmm. He actually signed with us. So I'm sitting on the couch. The dad is sitting to my left, and Wags is sitting to his left in a chair. I have lost it so bad. Wags is looking at the dad, but he can look over his shoulder and see what this idiot is doing on the end of the couch.
Trying to save it.
Gritton, you're just as bad. You were just as bad. Snickering. It got so bad that I actually did this. I'm not proud to say it. I slid off the couch into a baseball catcher's position and then stood up and walked across the room to the fireplace to pretend like I was looking at something on the mantle. Oh, man.
I do remember that. I remember that your back on the couch where your ass should be. And I'm like going, did you just sit up? I'm like, fuck. Sit up.
The whole thing, you setting it up before we got there. Okay, this is what's going to happen. And it was to a T. But the thing that just really floored me was I'm thinking to myself, you asshole, Gritton. I know you're going to make him laugh. I know you're going to make him laugh. And so part of the conversations for the rest of the evening, he would laugh off and on, and he'd be doing this. And it just, I'm like, oh, shit.
Wouldn't stop. Yeah,
And
you're right, Coach. That was a good one. That was, and I think the funniest thing for me wasn't necessarily what was the banter going. It was trying to watch you save it. Just trying to. That was funnier than anything else. Was it how it was killing you?
And I was thinking what was the funniest was watching Wags knowing all that shit that was going on and just being a true
trooper
pro.
Yeah. God. We wouldn't really, and he'd get in the laugh a little bit with us in the van. He never really said, hey, come on, guys, you can't be doing that shit. Because I guess it was funny to him too, man. Shit, I don't know. Oh, man.
All right, that's my top 5, man. So you got Reverend Jim in there? Is that the Reverend?
Yeah, it was one of those setup things too, because we visited him and his responses, when you'd ask him, were yeah, and so then when we went on the home visit, you were talking to him. So, we got this position where we can put you out at a wide receiver and be back. Some of the things, when we were out in California before cell phones, and you're in some neighborhoods making those phone calls from pay phones.
Oh man.
And the dude you're recruiting goes, get back in the car. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Just get back in your car. Oh,
Well,
okay.
in 1990, me, you, and Wags. Now you got to picture this, okay? When we went to these home visits, we look like the Godfather, the mafia. We are in nice clothes, ties, and these like calf or ankle length camel hair's overcoats, right?
Yeah.
So we're down in North Omaha and we needed to make a phone call. We pull into a 7-Eleven and then we go into the store to get like a 7-Eleven burrito or something like that.
No.
And that was on like a Friday night, maybe a Saturday. That Monday, we're in the weight room and we're talking to two of our players from that area, Remar Walker and Michael Ware. And they went, whoa, hold on a second. You were at that 7-Eleven on that street? We're like, yeah. Wearing the shit that you guys wear? Yeah. Holy cow, coach.
Yeah.
You guys got lucky.
Oh, shit.
All right, man. That's the little flashback there. My 5 funniest home visits in recruiting. You know, recruiting such a lifeblood of football. You got to do it, and with high school kids, you got to do the home visits because you got to recruit and sell the parents. But as soon as you get into their environment, there's some funny shit that goes on.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has these stories. They have to, you know. And
they have to.
I think this is great. This is great, man.
I'm going to let Grit go, and I appreciate him coming on today, having a few yucks and laughs. So I appreciate it, Grit. Thanks a lot, man. And we'll talk again.
Think about you a ton. Hope to see you soon.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so I really want to thank Mark Grit, for being on with me today. It was really fun to catch up with him. All those stories that we talked about, they are 100% true. Okay, be on the lookout for some of my combine shows coming up where I talk about performances of the quarterbacks that were in Indianapolis over the weekend. And we're going to talk about the top guys at the quarterback position coming up in the draft this spring. If you enjoyed today's show, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, pass the word. You know, I really appreciate your guys' support. This is QB Unfiltered. And remember, always throw the ball short to guys who can score. See ya.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.